frequency of yes. I'm Kirstin Carey, seven-figure business strategist and somatic sales mentor. I am obsessed with helping women activate their divine wealth frequency, that grounded, embodied state that makes selling clean, strategic, and profitable without the burnout or the bro energy. And if you're ready to sell in a way that feels effortless, expands your wealth, and honors your body as much as your business, then you're in the right place. This podcast is for established feminine leaders with premium offers who are done with the hustle, manipulation, and undercharging, and who are ready to create consistent, grounded income with clients that light you up and get extraordinary results. Each week, you're going to get a mix of sales psychology, strategy, and energetic calibration, all designed to help you refine your messaging, stabilize your sales, and lead from your full body yes. So welcome back to our money and pricing series. In the last episode, we talked about what it takes to hold premium sales conversations that feel good, not just for your clients, but for you. And once you know how to sell from grounded confidence, the next question becomes, how do you price from that same energy? So today we're going to be taking that conversation deeper to discuss something that happens to almost every high-achieving woman at some point in her business. And it's that wobble that shows up the moment you start pricing your work at a truly premium level. So that 3K, 10K, 20K offer that makes your body tense up, your throat close, your brain whisper, who am I to charge that? Or will anybody actually pay that? So if that's you and you felt that tightening or that swirl in your system or that hesitation, I want you to know you're not crazy. You're definitely not alone. Because most of the women that I'm working with aren't struggling because they're not good at what they do. They're phenomenal at what they do. Their clients are getting real transformation and their programs deliver. But when it comes to putting a price on that transformation, something in their body wobbles. That confident leader suddenly becomes the overthinker, overexplaining, justifying, adjusting, wondering why her sales aren't hitting. Or maybe they've slowed down, or maybe they aren't consistent. Or why once easy yeses have turned into maybes. So if your sales have started to feel heavier or prices suddenly feel too low or too high, stick with me because it isn't about your price point. It's about your alignment point. And this is the moment, that heightened awareness, which marks the shift from dysregulated achiever to grounded leader. And that's exactly what we're going to be exploring today, the energetics of premium pricing and how to sell 3K, 20K offers without the wobble, the guilt, or that weird energy that makes your clients feel uncertain. Also, next week's episode is going to tack onto this in part 4 of this series. We're going to break down the real math behind consistent 30 and 50 plus K months with just a handful of clients. Because when you're pricing, your positioning, your energy are congruent, the numbers finally make sense. So let's drop in. All right, I'm just going to put this out there. There is a shift happening right now, not just in the economy, but in the collective energy of business itself. And I'm sure you're feeling it right now too, right? Launches are feeling heavier. The online space feels louder. Buyers are taking longer to decide. But what's happening isn't a collapse of online business, as many people in the industry are saying. It's a cleanse. The industry is detoxing from years of that push and pressure sales, from the overuse of tactics that never really felt aligned, especially for women. And for too long, we were told to sell louder, launch harder, grind more. And a lot of it worked, at least for a little while. But now it's starting to feel like it's falling apart because people were selling through false urgency and not from alignment, even when their bodies were screaming no. And now the collective is pushing back on that theatrics of that hard sales close. And people are tired of being manipulated by fear-based sales or people who couldn't deliver on the promises that were made. They're tired of being told that if they don't invest now, they're going to fall behind in some magical world where they could never get the information again, especially women, because women can feel it when something's off. And we feel it in our bodies when a message is disconnected from its source. So what we're seeing in the marketplace, it's not ruin, it's a refinement. Online business is not collapsing. It's recalibrating and it's bringing us all back into balance. So these contractions are flushing out the noise, and they're surfacing the leaders who can sell and serve from grounded congruence, the leaders who don't need to push or chase because their energy already communicates integrity. So if you've been tempted to drop your prices or pile on bonuses or go live more often or post on social 3 or 4 times a day, or you've been doubling down on your launch strategy and going harder just to prove your worth, I want you to take a minute, because that's not alignment. That's fear boosted by adrenaline. And adrenaline might make money in the short term, but it doesn't create legacy wealth, and it burns out your system. And this moment in our industry is an invitation to slow down, to recalibrate, and to sell from sovereignty instead of survival. And now is the time to evolve and step up and step in and use this opportunity to grow and lead and rise above. Because when your energy and your words and your price all line up, something really simple happens. People feel safe with you, and you're going to stand out even more. And when people feel safe, they feel heard, they feel understood, they buy. Not because you pushed, not because you forced, not because you created urgency, but because it feels right. And I didn't just learn this by watching from the sidelines or reading a book about it. I live it in my own business and through the businesses of my clients. And I've run businesses through detoxes just like this for more than 3 decades of business cycles. These are the moments that give you the opportunity to ground into your brilliance and to rise into your genius rather than just getting stuck into the fear that's running through the industry. And I can remember that exact moment when I learned how to price based on energetic brilliance of my body signals and my inherent value. It was early in my career, and I learned how quickly the nervous system can either sabotage alignment or lock you into that flow frequency. So let me set the scene. I was 25 years old. I was young, I was driven, and I was really good at what I did. I was confident in my content and my delivery, and I knew how to move an audience to action. But I was still learning how to price that level of expertise, so my pricing and my ability to create transformation truly matched. And because I was so young compared to most of my colleagues and competitors, I always felt like I had to compensate or apologize for my age. So I invested what little money I had at the time into tailored suits and high-end haircuts so that when I at least walked in the room, I looked as credible as they did. And my look also matched the level of confidence that I had in my ability to deliver, even if I felt too young to be taken seriously. So at that point, I had booked a few paid consulting gigs, a few paid speaking engagements, and I was building traction. So when Verizon came calling to book me as their keynote for their new company-wide women's leadership program, I panicked because someone on their team had actually seen me speak at another event and she was impressed. So she went back and lobbied the decision-making committee to bring me in. And when she called, of course, I was thrilled. And I was having the conversation and I was feeling like I was all in and I was all about it until she said, "What's your fee?" And I was like, ha, my chest tightened, my palms started sweating. I'm sure my face turned red. And I know you know similar moments when everything's coming together, all the pieces are falling into place. The version of you knew you were starts showing up. But that version of you isn't really familiar enough quite yet. So the sensation in your body starts to take over in the moment you start to transfer in and step over that turning point. And everything kind of just goes blank. So in that moment, she asked, "What's your fee?" And I was like, I don't know what to say here. Because I was afraid if I priced too high, that they wouldn't have the budget, or she would laugh at me. Or then I started worrying, well, if I price too low, what if they don't take me seriously? So It's honestly a good thing that Zoom wasn't a thing back in the day, because it worked in my favor that she couldn't see me. So I at least took a breath and I asked a few poignant questions about their goals and their program details. Honestly, I was just stalling. But finally it came to me and I thought, okay, I can't answer her in this moment. Let me at least say to her, let me get back to you with a proposal, which is what I did. And the second I hung up the phone, I called my mentor, Carol. And Carol, wasn't calling her because I needed her to help me figure out what the program was. I knew how to speak and I knew how to deliver what they were coming to me for. I had all that covered. What I needed was help standing in the value of my program, and I needed support on normalizing premium pricing for a company like Verizon. She guided me through a really simple exercise to find out the number that felt professional and powerful and aligned, but not forced or made up. So she had me say some numbers out loud. She went high, she went low, she went higher, she went lower, and then she bounced around to a bunch of different numbers. And all of a sudden she stopped and she smiled and she said to me one of the numbers that I had said, and she said, "That's it. That's your keynote price for Verizon." I was like, "How do you know that?" And she said, "It's the only number you've said without laughing." I was like, "Oh." And that moment changed how I related to pricing forever. Because what Carol was really teaching me in that moment was somatic congruence, that point when your body and your strategy match. And she was smart in how she mentored me in that moment, because she didn't give me an answer. She could have just said, go charge them $5,000, go charge them $10,000. What she did is she helped me experience my answer so that I could hear the wisdom of my own nervous system whispering the right answer for me. And she also helped me create normalcy around pricing in the professional speaking and consulting industry, because she was not about to let me undercharge. So I didn't lose the gig at that point. And then she also she wasn't going to allow me to overcharge and cave in on myself. And the fact that I trusted her and her experience, she then helped me find and connect with the trust in myself. And you might not be pricing a keynote for Verizon right now, but you are pricing your transformational value every day in your offers, in your boundaries, in your voice, and in everything you do related to your business. It's not just about the number. So do this. Just right now, say out loud the price you're currently charging for your program, your event, your offer. And notice what happens in your body. Notice the feeling, the sensation, the wobble or the hesitation or the roundedness. All of it's information and feedback from your central nervous system that you're either too high or you're too low or it's just right. And if it doesn't feel just right, that Goldilocks of pricing, then there's a misalignment that needs to be addressed, because it may be bleeding out through everything else that you're doing. Because when you set Goldilocks pricing, that creates an aligned and balanced sensory experience for your body and your mind. And that's somatic congruence. That's the space you should sell and lead from always, because it sends out a signal to your ideal client that it's safe for them to invest. And that's exactly what I do inside my Divine Wealth frequency programs. We normalize premium pricing and sell from that grounded, congruent state. And that experience taught me something that I carried through every level of every single one of my businesses ever since. Pricing isn't a strategy problem. It's a somatic congruence problem. And I see this all the time with my clients. Women who are masters at what they do, but whose bodies are still in conflict with the level of wealth that they're trying to hold. And sometimes that looks like overcharging. Sometimes it looks like overexplaining. Sometimes it looks like undercharging and over-delivering. It's not doubt. It's dysregulation. And I saw this play out with a client of mine a few years ago, a brilliant practitioner who had mastered her craft, but whose frustration was quietly repelling the very client she wanted to serve. So a client of mine in the health industry called me, and she was absolutely exacerbated. Her calendar was packed with sales calls. She had 90-minute or longer marathon Zoom calls that were all ending with someone telling her that they couldn't afford her 6K solution. Well, not all of them. She was closing maybe 10% of them. But her prep time, her follow-ups, the emotional energy, they were all sucking the life out of her. And you know that frustration, right? That sinking feeling when you realize that you've spent yet another hour or two holding space for someone on a sales call who's never going to buy. And that feeling starts making you wonder, maybe you're the problem, or that you're never going to find a client who actually invests. But that's not actually why she called me for help. She called me because all of a sudden, after she uploaded her new Evergreen Masterclass video, her booked calls dropped to 0. She went from 40 calls a month down to none. So she was panicked. So I checked everything with her. The funnels worked, the copy was solid, the brand looked beautiful. But then I was watching her new sales video, and it looked pretty similar to her old sales video that had been bringing in all the calls right until the end. On the video near the end, she said, "Book a call with me. I'm expensive, but worth it." And I was like, oh, okay, there it is. Because she's telling the viewer, come on. And then she was slamming the door in their face. And so I got curious and I asked her why she said that. And she said, "I am sick of wasting time on people who say they want change, but they aren't serious about investing in themselves. I don't want to keep talking to broke people anymore. I only want to talk to people who are ready to commit to their healing and can afford it." And man, I honor her raw honesty. I totally get it. And maybe you've been there too, because you're done with that like free therapist energy. You're tired of holding space for people who want the results, but not the responsibility. Or you're just jumping on a call with people that you feel like are squeezing you for just a few more free quick tips. But here's the thing. When you're frustrated, it energetically bleeds into your marketing and sales conversations, no matter how polished your words are. And in trying to protect her time and herself, she was hoping by saying, "I'm expensive," that she would filter out all the tire kickers and attract premium clients. But even before she said that line at the end that she was expensive, she was energetically sending signals that she was annoyed and didn't want people wasting her time. So rather than attracting her most ideal premium client, she was repelling everyone with an underlying message of, "Don't bother booking a call with me." And that single phrase broadcasted her frustration, not her grounded leadership. It pushed away the empowered, resourceful clients who were actually ready to buy because her frequency was misaligned and was like oozing out all over her video and her landing page copy, even though the only obvious place that it was happening was when she said, "I'm expensive, but worth it." And in her original video, her frequency was connected to getting anyone she could on a call, thinking that she could convince them how important it was for them to fix their health issues once she had them on the call. So that's why she was seeing so many calls coming in and not a lot of them converting. But after taking hundreds of calls, her nervous system was going into burnout. So her seemingly small adjustment to "I'm expensive" was this massive overcorrection. So we made 2 changes. First, we shifted her energy from resentment to clarity. The frequency went from stay away to step in for the most aligned people. And that also changed the frequency in how she connected with her most ideal premium client. Second, she tweaked her landing page copy and re-recorded the masterclass video from that grounded, confident state. Within a week, calls started coming back in. There were fewer calls, but nearly every one of those calls was a woman who was ready, capable, and serious and matched her ideal client profile. And the calls were shorter, they were lighter, they were more natural, and over half of them enrolled into her now $7,000 offer on the spot. And most paid in full, and most re-enrolled or upgraded into her mastermind level program. So she made more than twice the money with half the effort, simply by balancing the frequency behind her words in her marketing and her sales conversations, which also impacted the clients who came into her programs and their overall success and the overall value of that client, because they spent more with her than they were spending before. And that's what somatic congruence looks like in real time. It's not about a perfect funnel or a magic script. It's about the energy underpinning your business and everything attached to it. Because when your nervous system and your pricing strategy disagree, your clients can feel it. But when they're aligned, when your body and your business are speaking that same frequency, your audience doesn't need convincing because they just know. And this is why I teach premium pricing through both strategy and somatics, because your offers, your boundaries, and your bank account all reflect that same calibration. And this is the calibration that I call the divine wealth frequency, the energetic and strategic alignment that allow grounded women to sell and receive with ease and not force. And what both of these stories show is that pricing isn't about the numbers, it's about the somatic congruence. Your body knows before your brain does whether your pricing feels safe, sovereign, and steady. Let's break this down into 3 simple anchors you can use every time you price or sell. First, safety. Regulate before you price. Your pricing will never feel calibrated if your nervous system is in panic or if you don't believe in the balanced exchange when you set it. And this is where the universal law of compensation, or also known as the law of giving and receiving, comes into play. Money is an energy exchange. Clean exchange creates clean expectations, which is why premium clients show up better. It isn't immoral or greedy, it's just flow. It's how energy moves between 2 people who have agreed that the exchange feels right. And when you undercharge, you block that flow. You give more than you allow yourself to receive, and your system tightens. When you overgive, your body eventually starts keeping score, and it shows up as resentment or fatigue or that subtle ache of being undervalued, even when your calendar is full. But then the flip side of resentment is always guilt. Guilt makes us overcompensate. We start stuffing our offers with too many promises, too many bonuses, too much content, trying to apologize for charging prices that feel like too much. And then we tell ourselves that we're being kind or generous or supportive or we're serving. But what we're really doing is trying to offset our own discomfort in a price that feels too high. And then the client feels that. The balance of giving and receiving gets distorted when that happens. And then they enter the relationship with skewed expectations. And then you carry the weight of delivering more than what was ever required. And women do this all the time because we've been conditioned to be nice and nurturing, which often gets twisted into self-sacrifice. And we've been taught that our value comes from how much we give, how much we fix, or how much we endure. But that's not a fair energy exchange. When it's a fair energy exchange, that means you shouldn't do more and they shouldn't do less. Balanced offers build better outcomes for you and for them. And balanced pricing honors both of you. It says, I will give fully and you will give fully, and I will receive fully and you will too. And that's when the exchange becomes clean again, when the money moves freely and everyone feels respected in the process. And that's why regulating before setting pricing matters. Because when you're grounded, you can feel the difference between generosity and guilt, between service and self-abandonment. And that's where somatic congruence begins, when your price supports your body instead of draining it. Number 2, sovereignty. This is when you price from your power, not people pleasing. Premium pricing is a boundary, and boundaries are created to keep things out, but they're also created to keep things in. It's the energetic agreement that says, I respect my work and I respect you enough to hold you to it. And your price protects your energy and your clients' results. Because when people invest at a level that stretches them, they show up differently. They show up with ownership, with presence, with skin in the game. Sovereignty is the antidote to the pricing wobble. It's what turns, I hope they say yes, into I trust this is meant for the people who will step in. And then number 3, signaling. Every number transmits a frequency. Your price is a signal. It tells the truth about how much you trust yourself, how much you trust your work, and how much you trust your ability to hold the energy of money. Which brings us to the law of attraction, or as it's less well known, the law of mirroring. And I prefer to call it the law of mirroring because it's a more accurate name for the way it actually works. Calling it the law of attraction gives the illusion that all you have to do is just say what you want and you'll get it. Repeat the mantra enough times and the universe will just give it to you, right? Pray hard enough and it's yours. But it doesn't work like that. You don't attract what you want simply because you say you want it. You attract what your energy proves you believe. It's your mirror. And when you price from fear, even if you think you're being clever and you're hiding your fear, you will attract more fear, and money doesn't flow to fear. But when you price from grounded certainty, you attract people who are certain too, and they'll pay you with certainty. In fact, they would probably pay you 2 to 3 times what you're charging because they are so certain. Your pricing is a mirror. It's showing what your nervous system really believes you can hold. And the beautiful thing is you can always recalibrate that mirror, not by forcing a new number, but by finding the number that feels balanced and aligned within your body. And if that number is not aligned with where you want to be, then you need to find what's blocking it and neutralize that block. So remember, your price isn't a number, it's a portal. It invites people into the level of transformation they're ready to receive. And when you set your prices from safety, sovereignty, and signaling, you create somatic congruence, the state where your strategy and your nervous system agree. And that's where the divine wealth frequency lives. And wealth is deeper than pricing. It's all about the things that fall into that frequency. It's money, yes, but it's also freedom of time, freedom of choice. Wealth is freedom of health and happiness. It's freedom in your relationships. It's the balance of the overall abundance of your life. So you're transmitting a frequency around all of that all the time. And what your divine wealth frequency is transmitting is what is mirroring back to you. So what's your divine wealth frequency transmitting right now? Your life experience is the mirror to what you transmit. So let me bring this all together. The market's not collapsing, it's recalibrating. The women who are rising now aren't the loudest or the busiest. They're the ones who are most congruent with their divine wealth frequency, because pricing is never just about money. It's about safety, sovereignty, signaling, the way your body and your strategy and your energy come into alignment and what you're mirroring back into the universe. And when your nervous system is regulated, your giving and receiving come back into balance. And when you price from sovereignty, you stop trying to prove your worth and you start protecting your energy. And when your signal is clear, when your pricing mirrors your self-trust, your ideal clients can feel it immediately. And when you're aligned, you stop pushing. You just communicate clearly. And the right people recognize it, and the wrong ones quietly step away. There's no chasing, there's no convincing. It's just connection and clean energy. And that's the power of selling from alignment instead of adrenaline. And that's what divine frequency is about. It's bringing your nervous system, your strategy, and your money into harmony so your business expands without force, burnout, or apology. You deserve to receive at the same energetic level that you give. And you can when you sell from grounded congruence. And if you've ever been in that feeling of that pull, that knowing that your pricing or your sales process isn't fully aligned, that's not doubt. It's your system asking for an upgrade. And inside my divine wealth frequency programs, like Effortless Sales Flow, we work with our clients to recalibrate how you sell, price, and lead so that your strategy, your energy, and your body finally agree. It's a somatic strategic framework for women building wealth without the force, the bro energy, that push. So if that's resonating with you, I strongly recommend that you schedule a private pivot call with me to identify where your pricing blocks are and where your greatest opportunities are to open up your specific divine wealth frequency. There's going to be links in the show notes after this. So when you go into the show notes also, I just want to let you know there's a link also in there for the divine wealth frequency map. Download that resource and bring your answers with you to the pivot call with me. And if you feel more connected to DMing, by all means, go DM me and we'll have a conversation that way. because your next level of wealth isn't about working harder. It's about selling from grounded alignment. So I want you to sit with this. I want you to start noticing where your pricing may already feel balanced, but also where it feels a little shaky or incongruent. Because when you clean that up, when your energy, your strategy, and your body all agree, the math starts to shift too. And here's a little spoiler alert. You don't need more followers. You need a congruent capacity and pricing model. And that's exactly what we're diving into next week in part 4 of this money and pricing series. How to hit consistent 30 to 50K plus months with just a handful of clients. We're going to break down the real math of sustainable coaching revenue, what actually adds up, what doesn't, and how to design your business model in a way that supports your nervous system and your income goals at the same time. It's going to bring everything we've talked about today and the last 2 episodes of this money and pricing series into practical, grounded focus so that you can see the alignment and the numbers behind your next level of wealth. It's going to make your left logical brain so happy and your right creative feminine brain so happy too. Thank you for tuning in to the Frequency of Yes. If this show resonated, follow me and share it with another woman who's ready to create wealth that feels as good in her body as it looks in her business. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep leading, selling, and receiving from your calibrated full body yes.